Hello, 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 and welcome to episode number 85. Wowzers, not long until 100. So, what? Absolutely bonkers. And on today's episode, I'm diving into what can sometimes seem like a tricky paradox, honoring your hunger and working on weight loss when navigating real life situations like lunch breaks, family meals, meals out, etc. So, if you know anything about me, you know that I encourage intuitive style eating, changing your relationship with food, and if you're working on it, weight loss and doing so with love, which means ditching the counting of calories, points, or fads, and listening to your mind, body, and soul. Now, you may be thinking, can you really achieve well-being goals without counting calories or obsessively tracking every point or macro? Can you really trust and listen to your body and change your relationship with food? And if you wish, lose weight? And the answer is yes. And why? Because our relationship with food and weight loss with love is about something deeper than superficial measurements on a scale or arbitrary calorie guidelines. And by focusing on listening to your body's signals, understanding your emotional connections to food, and redefining how food and joyful movement fits into your life, you can embark on a sustainable path towards weight loss that doesn't have to compromise your mental well-being. Everybody give me a thumbs up for that one. So just take a moment and imagine no longer feeling guilt-ridden after enjoying something you perhaps would have previously called an indulgent treat, or experiencing anxiety around social gatherings centered around food. What if your weight loss journey felt light and loving and kind, and that you gave yourself full permission to free yourself from societal pressures while still achieving your desired results? How would that actually feel? And in today's show, I want to talk about navigating life and honoring hunger. So get ready to ditch the diet drama and dive on in with me. So first up, let's recap on what honoring hunger actually is. Honoring hunger, I've realised this is a bit of a tongue twister. Honoring hunger is about acknowledging and listening to your body's signals for genuine physical need, but also doing so in a way that doesn't leave you falling into the vicious cycle of deprivation followed by overindulgence, which is what can happen on typical diets, the sort of the binge restrict kind of cycle that we can go through. And it's important to remember that everybody's body is different and that your hunger level can vary from day to day, which is why points, calories, and elimination based diets can sometimes feel bloody hard. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to stick to the same thing every day when your body's not the same every day, especially as women. And I know that myself this week because I've been riding the hormone wave and I have been hungry as F. So the key to intuitive style eating and changing your relationship with food is tuning into your body's cues and honoring them without judgment or restriction. So when working on weight loss with love, you are still honoring those cues without judgment, but you're just going to start to pay a little bit closer attention to them and experiment a little bit more with love for weight loss. Whereas true intuitive eating, you don't work on weight loss. So that's why I call it intuitive style eating. And it's also about looking more closely at why you eat and super sleuthing the hell out of that. It does not mean starving yourself, waiting to eat so long that you feel poorly. What we work on is waiting until we are genuinely in need of food rather than some other reason. So, because the clock tells us that it's time for a meal or time for a snack, or for emotional reasons, or because the donuts smelt nice. Understanding the reasons behind your eating habits can provide you with valuable insights into your overall relationship with food and help you to then make more mindful and purposeful choices. Sometimes you'll turn to food as a source of comfort, seeking solace in ice cream after a long day, or using food such as chocolate as a form of stress relief. But by acknowledging the emotional motivations behind your eating, you can then start to disentangle your emotions from your meals. And it takes a little self-reflection, but the long-term benefits and impact to your weight loss with love journey can be profound. So are you turning to food when you're bored rather than physically in need? Do you find yourself mindlessly snacking while scrolling through social media? Are you eating because you got triggered walking past the pastry shop? full of tongue twisters today. Identifying those patterns, allowing you to again address the emotional triggers and developing healthier coping mechanisms instead of solely relying on food means that you can then look to honour your hunger more. And so next time you sit down for a meal or reach for a snack, just ask yourself, why are you eating? Are you truly hungry? So are you in need of energy and sustenance to maintain your physical well-being? Or are there other factors influencing your decisions? But how do you honour your hunger if hunger doesn't arrive at a time that's convenient to your life? What if you're hungry outside of your lunch break at work, late in the evening or in the middle of the night? What if you want to go out with friends or sit down for a family meal, but the time that they need to eat doesn't fit in with your hunger? What then? And that's what we want to, or what I'm going to dive into today. So when hunger and life don't meet. So what do you do when your body is telling you that it's hungry, but you're nowhere near your next meal? Or what do you do if your lunch break at work or your family meal time doesn't again fit in with your physical need for food? What do you do when hunger and life don't meet eye to eye? And so in these situations, what I would offer to you is to remember what it is that you're actually working on. So what I'm encouraging is a life of food and life freedom, a life where you get to decide how you want to show up daily for your life, where you get to decide how you want to show up for your body, for your weight loss. And it has to be your way. You get to decide. We're ditching the diet rules and drama. So just breathe. You've got this, and we can figure it out. You won't die if you get a little bit hungry, and likewise you won't die if you have a little bit of an overeat on one meal. And the key thing is to remember that, again, you get to decide, and you can do this with the AAA Way framework, which is my unique framework, which is awareness, action, and accountability. So how do you actually apply my AAA Way method? So let's work through the steps together. So first step, are you clear on your goals? What do you want your relationship with food to be like? What are your priorities? How do you want to show up? And if you're not sure about this, then you will find yourself flip-flopping around. And the key is to decide. Now, that doesn't mean that it's then set in stone forever. It just means that you need to decide and then look to start to put a plan together with regards to how you're actually going to get that shit done. So there are loads of tools and support to help you if you're a Wellness for Women member, because the whole point of these shows is that they go into the membership and then there's an additional resource that goes with them, as well as the food freedom course. There is loads and loads in there. So if you're not sure where to start and you are a member, there's the support group, or you can hop on a coaching call if you're one of the VIP members, of course. And of course, if you're not a member, then you are more than welcome to join today and start changing your relationship with food. But from there, it depends on when you're making your decision as well. And this is when you start to get to do your super sleuthing. So as ever, you've got 3 opportunities to make a decision: before, during, or after. And you can super sleuth the fluff out of it and find a way or several ways that work for you and your goals. And I would encourage you to use my 5 Ds of action framework, which is decide, do, discover, deal, and do again. So before making a decision, it's important to gather as much information as possible. This is where your super sleuthing skills come into play. Do you have a past experience that you can rely on? Any knowledge about how you or your body ticks that you can use to make a realistic plan? Do you know your triggers? Are you a clock eater? Are you a plate cleaner? Or maybe you tend to overindulge when certain emotions arise. So understanding your patterns and triggers can really help you to develop strategies to then avoid or manage them. And it's also helpful to consider any external factors that might be influencing your decision, such as your social settings or the availability of certain healthier food options, for example. Again, once you've taken the time, gone through a series of realistic plans and loving daily assessments, like I encourage in the membership, you're then going to start to gather that necessary information to really start to fine tune your realistic plans, because the realistic plan is not just about planning a food menu for the day. And it's about then taking a look at what you've discovered. And so now comes the fun part. You get to be creative, looking for alternatives. Challenge yourself to think outside the box and to explore different possibilities. Notice if you have old food rules and norms. Are you just playing out old habit loops? There's always more ways than we tend to think, but we can be quite closed down because of those rules and those loops. So things like eating only in lunch breaks and family meals, these are also likely dictated to by your underlying beliefs. But the great thing is that you can change your beliefs if you want to, or you get to keep them and make them work for you. It's your choice. You get to decide. So you've got your list of options. What next? So consider all the potential options, the outcomes for each, and just make a decision. Which one seems to align more with your goals? Which choice is likely to bring you closer to your desired outcome? Which, if any, has some pitfalls? Which, if any, might hinder your progress? Is there a difference in the short term or the long term? And again, you get to decide what you're going to try. So let's work out a couple of scenarios. But before we do that, I want to check in on the types of plans you are actually building. And so just have a little recap again about realistic planning for your success. So I encourage my members to make a super duper extra easy, realistic plan for the day. So check in and establish whether what you're planning is really realistic. Does your plan set you up for listening to your body and mind? Does it set you up for success towards your goals? So gone are the days of restrictive rules and rigid meal plans. Instead, I'm inviting you on a journey where you can foster a more harmonious relationship with food that not only nourishes your body, but also honours your own individual needs. And that requires flexibility and adaptability. So no rigid planning. One thing I used to hate was making a food plan when I was on a diet, sitting down, trying to figure out how I was going to spend my points or calories. And depending on what diet I was working on the time, there never seemed to be enough points for what I actually wanted to eat. And it always felt like I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. And there was dilemmas around trying to be good. Should I save points for the weekend? Wanting all the things, but not really feeling like I was allowed to eat them. And sure, pretty much all of the diets said that you could have what you wanted, but then you couldn't, not really, because the points wouldn't allow you to without you busting the limits. And it all just felt so complex and so limiting and so full of drama. Hence why it's all about ditching diet drama. And I hated it so much then that I wouldn't make a plan, flying by the seat of my pants, only to find that I'd eaten my allowance by lunchtime, and I was then looking down the barrel of yet another jacket potato or salad for dinner, which I then considered to be safe diet food. And there was also many a day when I would plan meals only then to find myself too tired to cook and grabbing takeout. The food that I needed for my plan somehow wasn't in the fridge, or it had gone off, or I was out and about and completely adrift as I didn't know how many points or calories were in the damn food item in front of me. And the other thing that I used to do when I was planning the old way was to plan out breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, the four horsemen of the meal plan. But really, this was just reinforcing a systemic societal norm, a belief that we should eat these 3 meals a day. And if you buy any planner, it's likely to have a space for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. But this actually could be encouraging you to overeat unless 3 square meals a day is truly what you want to do. It fits your body and it fits your hunger. But more often than not, it's just encouraging you to think that that's what you should do, but that's actually not necessarily what it is that you needed to do. And if you think back to when our bodies were created, or the cave person days, they didn't have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They didn't even have clocks. They ate when they were hungry and they stopped when they were satisfied. And that's ultimately what we're looking to do. We're trying to reset. We're trying to go back to nature, as it were. And so personally, I say rip up the rule book, change the norms and plan your own system. And for true food freedom, it's about building your day around the food that you want and choosing to eat it in line with your body with love. And then when you're ready, and if you're working on weight loss, looking to level things up, again, with love and curiosity if you want to. And so intuitive style eating is not about eating to strict rules, but learning how to honour your body's unique cues whilst maintaining your overall health goals and weight loss with love. It's about playing with quantity and quality with mindful curiosity, but mostly love, because I say this, gone are the days where we should treat ourselves badly for wanting to work on weight loss, wanting to work on our bodies. It's time to be kind to ourselves. And when you embrace the realistic plan, as I outline in the AAA Way, for example, it's an opportunity to create ease in your day and creativity and self-discovery. So again, instead of rigidly adhering to set meal times, calories, points, or portion sizes dictated by outside sources, you can actually create a framework that allows you the freedom of choice based on your own individual appetites and how your day is shaping up. And this shift in mindset and process will not only enhance your relationship with food, but it also empower you to make choices based on what truly nourishes you and satisfies you. But the key here, as I said, is realistic. What do you want to eat? Do you have time to cook it and eat it? What's likely to come up in your day that could derail you? Do you need to build in some pivot points? How can you make your day easy? And these are just a few things to consider. And just these few micro decisions at the start of your day or perhaps the night before about how you're going to show up is all it takes to build that realistic plan. And this can also apply to when you're looking to figure out how your hunger meets life and what happens when the two don't meet, basically. So let's look at a couple of examples. So let's picture this. You work in an office. You were hungry, so you had a delicious breakfast. Your designated lunch break is 12, but you're not hungry. Crap. What do? You bought a microwave meal and you're only allowed to eat it between 12 and 1, as the policy is no hot food at the desk. What are your choices? What are your thoughts? Do you eat it? It's my lunch break. The clock says I must eat. Work says I must eat. And I'll get hungry if I don't eat. But then chances are you are having an overeat because your body doesn't physically need that food. It's like trying to put more petrol into the car and it overflowing. Do you save it for later and hope you don't get hungry? But then maybe you remember that actually you have an apple, a banana, and a protein bar for if you were genuinely hungry. Maybe you eat a bit, save or throw the rest. Maybe you go out and find something that you are allowed to eat at your desk. And the answer here is that there is no right or wrong. There is absolutely no right or wrong. You get to decide, you get to do, then you get to discover, then you get to deal, and then you get to do it all again. And when I say deal, I mean deal with the physicals, deal with the emotionals. Just look to process that experience in a kind and loving way, just so that you can look to learn from it and just make some decisions. But by changing your relationship with food, and again, weight loss with love, it just is a series of decisions. That's all it is. But the key part really is, again, this discovery. What can you learn from it? What was the plan perhaps not realistic? Was perhaps the choice was the wrong thing, not taking the microwave meal, the hot food? So what can you build in? Can you build in some flexibility and pivot points and something that's still going to be able to give you the opportunity to honor your body and goals? Or do you decide to still keep eating by the clock, but then just perhaps look to adjust later on with love and no restriction, of course? So there's a number of ways in which you can work around this without the drama. And again, like I say, this is all about mindset work as well. Okay, another example. Let's say you are a stay-at-home mama and your kiddos are at school, or maybe you're a home worker. So you've got more flexibility than the office worker with the fixed lunch break. You realise that you're not hungry for lunch, but you then have this dilemma. Well, what if I am hungry for lunch about 3 o'clock, but then you think, I can't eat at 3 because then I won't be hungry for tea, or I won't be able to eat that special meal that I planned, or I won't be hungry enough to eat with the family, or if I eat at 3, I won't be hungry until it's too late. I can't possibly eat my dinner at 9 o'clock at night. So what are your choice? Again, what are the thoughts that you're going through? And because this is, to me, is where some of the diet drama, and the weight loss dramas can come in, because we start toing and froing with ourselves, having these dilemmas, whereas actually we can decide how we want to show up. We can keep it easy. So what are your thoughts? What are your choices? You could eat it, but then you can't risk being hungry later on in the day. You could eat a bit again and save and throw the rest. You could wait for hunger, but then eat a smaller item, say around 3 o'clock, and conduct a loving experiment to see whether you are then hungry for your dinner and what time you are hungry for your dinner. or maybe you could just eat at 3 and worry about the rest later. And just like before, there really is no right or wrong answer. The gold is in the discovery. Maybe it shows you that, again, like I say, the plan wasn't realistic. Maybe you need to build in pivot points for when your body isn't quite in tune with what you were trying and aiming for that day. Maybe you would decide to do more experimentation around clock eating. And for me, it's all about balance. And again, looking out for those food rules, looking out for those habits, looking out for old beliefs that might be leaving you stuck somewhere. So again, the meal in the evening, who said that you had to have a full plate? Who said that you have to eat what the family eats or when the family eats? Now, if you choose to, then you've just got an opportunity to figure out a way to make it work for you with minimal impact on your goals. At the end of the day, 1 or 2 meals, 1 or 2 overeats, not likely to make vast differences. But again, we can add a lot of drama to these situations. We want to try and reduce the drama. Typically, more drama leads to more emotion, leads to more overeats. And that's when we dive into the biscuit barrels after, right? So what is absolutely critical, like I say, whatever you decide to do, is that you deal with it with love and compassion for yourself. We want a healthy relationship with food. No beatdowns, no judgments, just matter of fact, loving curiosity, and then a little bit of super sleuthing to see what we can improve mind, body, and soul. So keep it easy, keep it fun, enjoy the journey. Okay, right, that's it, folks. In summary, life is going to happen. Weight loss with any method is not a fine science, as there are just too many unique daily variables. Try your best, take ownership and do your best, grow and learn. But whatever you do for a healthy relationship with food, treat yourself with love and compassion. And of course, if you're not yet a member and you want to work on changing your relationship with food, one bite, one belief at a time, and with love, then make sure you check out the description. Come work with me. And if you want to work one-to-one, just drop me a #freedom on one of my socials and we'll have a natter. Okay, folks, that's it for this week. I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a good week. Bye for now.